welcome to the Winnipeg Public Library's online word processing tutorials. This video is going to look at page formatting as well as adding headers and footers to a document. Most of the changes that we're going to make regarding the physical page our file will print or be viewed on are accessed through the Layout tab on your ribbon. So if you look in the upper left corner of your screen, most of the time we're working on our Home ribbon, but just 3 tabs to the right we have the Layout option. So a single click will then activate that ribbon. The first button, the shortcut, is for your document margins. Normally, the margins for a new file are 1 inch, top, bottom, left, and right. You can see from the highlighted square that those are the margins I'm using for this particular file. Microsoft has provided some frequently used margin sizes as a shortcut for us, but if you require something unique, down at the very bottom of the drop list is the custom margins option. This brings up the page setup dialog box where I can either use the spin buttons to increase or decrease the margin, or I can simply highlight a number that's in one of these squares measurements and just type in the margin size that I require. When I enter or OK out, those margins are automatically applied to the entire document. Document margins rarely involve selecting text. Microsoft assumes that most of the adjustments made in page setup will apply to the entire file. If you were creating a document, though, where you needed to have unique margins or a unique orientation on one page, in that instance, you would have to select the text on that sheet before you came in and made any changes. The next shortcut button we have is the orientation. And orientation is simply the direction that the document is going to be viewed or printed in. A new file always starts in portrait orientation, so we have a vertical alignment of our page. Landscape orientation is a horizontal display. So instead of having a long sheet, we have a wider page for our text to wrap on. I'm just going to go back to portrait. Paper size, pretty straightforward. Standard sizes will be available on all printers. Depending on your hardware, though, you may have access to different envelope options. Again, the printer will control any of these extra features that you're seeing. The default size paper is referred to as letter or 8.5 by 11. Again, I don't have to highlight any text. If I wanted to switch to legal, the 14-inch paper, I would simply click on it and the entire file would then be adjusted. I will point out the breaks option here. As you know, when you are typing a longer document and your cursor reaches the bottom of the page, Word automatically starts a new page for you. It puts in a soft page break so that you can continue adding information into your file. Well, there's sometimes, though, when you're typing in text and you may not like the way that the text breaks at the bottom of a page. So using this example, I may want to keep the notes about the recipe with the actual recipe here, but perhaps I want to have these variations appear by themselves on a separate sheet. I can force a new page or add a hard page break in by clicking at the beginning of the first line that I want on the new page. There is a breaks option in the ribbon, and all I would do in the page break section is click on page. So whatever text is after my cursor is then forced to a second page. When you force page breaks in, you are able to remove them. It's very simple. And what I'll do is show you how to do that. The easiest way is to activate your Show Hide button on the home ribbon. So what Show Hide does is indicate where you press the Enter key, and there are little dots that appear to indicate where the space bar was used. You'll notice I have an entry at the bottom of the page that says page break. So that is my forced page, my hard page break. I clicked in front of it and I'm just going to delete it out. You'll notice for soft page breaks, there is nothing to delete. The system has a sort of a mandatory page break in that location. So page setup then, very, very straightforward. You'll notice in the lower right corner of the page setup box, we have this shortcut to the dialog box, a little square with the arrow in it. So when I click on that, I have more detailed information about the various aspects or changes to my files. Headers and footers are also elements that users will put in, especially for longer documents. Page numbers are frequently inserted. Sometimes users will want to insert a date to indicate when the file was created or printed. Basically, a header or footer can contain any text that you want. Headers always appear in the top margin of your document, and as you might guess, a footer is found in the bottom margin. Again, they will apply to all pages in a document. There's one change that we can make regarding the first page of a file, but we'll look at that once we get a header in our document. We need to access the Insert ribbon. So if you'll single click on that, and about 2/3 of the way through, we have the header and footer option. So I'm going to go straight header. We'll talk about page numbering in a moment. So when you click on the header drop list, you're going to see an array of styles. As you move your mouse through the different displays, you will get a brief description of what that header is. If there's one that you like, you'll notice they have a lot. I was going to say gazillions, but a lot. I'm just going to go with a very plain header style. So 3 columns, left margin, center of the page, and right margin. So when I single click on that, 2 things happen on my screen. I immediately have a new toolbar added to the display. The header and footer ribbon will stay on the screen as long as my cursor is in that part of the file. You'll also notice that the document text has gone gray, and that's just Word's way of showing the difference between the header area of the page and the actual document area. So when I want to add text to a header, I click and drag the field. Sometimes you'll find if you just click in front of it, the field, the code doesn't go away. So selecting is always good to immediately remove something. I would just type my text in. Very straightforward. I can switch to the center tab, again, just by simply clicking to have something appear in the middle of the page. And then our last position, the right margin, I'm going to add a page number to this document. Now, when you're working in the header and footer ribbon, you will see one of the first sections is the page number option, similar to what we had seen on the Insert tab. So I'm going to select page number. I want it in the current position or location that I'm working in. And right now, it just is a plain number. Again, you can go through and get some pretty interesting formats for your page numbers. The nice thing about doing current position is I'm controlling exactly where the page number is going, plus I have the flexibility of moving it or adding or deleting text around it. So I'm just going to go very basic, put the page number in, and it's done. Why don't you want to type a number in as a page number? Well, anything that's typed in the header, as I mentioned, prints on every page. So if I were just to type the number 1 on the first page, it's going to print that same number on additional pages in the file. So we need to use this page numbering code or field, as it's called, to ensure that numbers change from page to page. If you're not pleased with the style of page number or perhaps the actual number that it's printing, you can highlight that field, go back to the page number button, and we have a format page numbers option. You may want to switch to letters, to Roman numerals. The selections are all available in this one area. We're not going to deal with section breaks in this video. It's a pretty advanced feature for an introductory workshop. So we're just going to switch to Roman numerals. I'm going to OK out, and the change is made. If you don't like the font that's being used, much like you would in a document, you would highlight your text, go back to your home ribbon, and make any adjustments using your various font options. The header and footer ribbon is still there, but because I've clicked on a different tab, it's no longer visible on my desktop. As soon as I go back to design, though, I'm back in the header and footer world. The only control that you really have for your headers and footers is found in this options section. A lot of people, when they're creating multi-page files, don't necessarily want a header or footer to appear on the first page of their document. So by selecting different first page, what I've done is set up really 2 headers, one for page 1 and a different header for the rest of the file. Now, to see that header that will start on page 2, I have a previous and a next button. So by clicking next, it's going to show me the original header I created, but now I'm on page 2 of the file. If I needed to go back to page 1, well, I would click on the previous button. I could type completely different text here if I wanted, although most users just want that blank first page. The other feature that can be useful for working with headers and footers is this Go to Footer button. I'm not going to use the Create Footer option in the header and footer ribbon section. If I select Go to Footer, it automatically moves me down there. You'll notice because I have different first page still highlighted, it's now indicating that this will be my first page footer, and I'll just type that in, first page footer. If I click the next button, type my text in, use whatever commands or fields that you want to enhance or complete your header and footer. When you are done, you can click the Close Header and Footer button. It then takes you back to your document. So now you'll notice on page 1, I have no header. As I scroll down, you can see the first page footer that I created, and we have the opposite thing happening with text now. Because I'm back working in document mode, the headers appear gray. If you take a look at the header and footer on page 2, they are gray as well. Okay. If I needed to go back and edit either the header or the footer, one method is to put your mouse in the margin area and just double left click. What that automatically does is take you back to the margin area of your document. The header and footer ribbon reappears on your screen, and you can do any customizing that's required. That's pretty much it for working with page options. I hope you found this video useful and we'll have a chance to work through some of the supplementary exercises to reinforce these topics. Thanks for your time. Take care.